Hello! I am so excited to be doing this video because this is one of my favorite topics, houses.
Not necessarily mine, but
But I think...
I like to live in them.
Yeah. So I think I want to do a little comparison. What's it like to live in houses in United States versus living in houses in France? To start, I want to say, this is our opinion. And we're obviously gonna talk about what we were looking for, which is all homes. We were looking for charm and character. Modern houses are more like United States, but we didn't even bother looking at them. That was not something we were interested. So
we were actually very pinpointed. We knew we wanted to be in the countryside.
Yes.
About an hour away from Paris.
Because our son
Nathan lived there at the time. And it was going to be an old, charming home.
Yeah, we wanted peace and quiet, easy access. And this house, when we bought it, pretty much crossed all the boxes.
So,
except for the size. It was way bigger than what we wanted.
Yeah, yard too. But we're going to get into what charming means because you look for charming and then surprises show up. So we'll get to that. But head us off with the first thing.
We were looking at a lot of houses in a different area looking originally, but we were not having any luck. This was in the Eveling section. You were scared because every time I would find something that was beautiful, it was falling apart.
Yes. And for that, you can go to Beneath the Surface, my channel. You can see some of that journey if you haven't already.
Those videos are so much fun to watch.
Of searching and being horrified. I would be horrified at some stuff that whereas she would see potential.
I know.
Which, another story.
So all houses tend to have very thick walls, which is wonderful because they do provide amazing insulation.
Yeah. We have 3 foot at least? Here?
3 or if not more.
Jeez.
They are very, very thick, but they're like stiff, right? So you'll see cracks here and there that's not structural issues. It's just because they're old homes, age.
Yeah.
So that's a big difference. The heating cooling system here in France is very different than United States. They absolutely don't do any air ducting.
So no centralized system, other than technically the radiators are a way that water, circulates or heat throughout the house.
Which I love. Don't you love that?
They're actually cool. Yeah, and they do a great job. They do a great job.
And it's a lovely heat.
Yes. To get close to the radiator.
But it's just lovely. Yeah. They look really cool. They add this charm and architectural element to the room that I love. Now, the piping is all exterior. So the piping for all the radiators is on the outside of the walls. I happen to like that, but, some people don't like that. But
So our heating system, we have a wood pellet-based heating system that's super efficient, very cool. The previous owners installed it, controlled by an app or through an app. And it does a great job of
that was an appeal for us with this house because there is rating on houses on efficiency.
Yeah.
And this house was efficiency C, which is actually for an old home.
Pretty good.
Excellent.
So it goes from A to G. And we stepped into G homes, which are like, you might as well be outside. I mean, honestly, it's A through G is just nonsense.
But that's important to keep in mind.
Yeah.
You're pretty good at all the way to D. When you go below D is an issue.
Yeah, I've wanted to improve even beyond C, but that's just extra work. It's
maybe, we would have to do a lot more work in the roof or underneath the roof.
We're fine other than hot summers. The French, especially in the countryside, they don't believe, in AC systems. Now, from what I gather, it's in old homes, right?
Yes.
Or is it outside of the city?
Yeah.
Right.
There's only air conditioning in the southern part of France for obvious reasons. The heat it's unbearable for a long period of time. Here we have probably 2 really hot months out of the year. Mm-hmm. The rest is totally fine. And here in the downstairs is actually quite pleasant, even on the super heat. If you use that another thing that the French have, which is shutters. If you know when to close the shutters to avoid the sun penetrating the house.
Yes.
You know, like in United States, the shutters are usually decorative. Here they have a point. They're functional.
Yeah. We were in Gros Rouvre, staying at that cottage that was an Airbnb at the time that we did long term. And she kept telling us, close the blinds outside, the shutters.
In the winter, was in the winter.
Or you're going to freeze. And the bill for heating
we kept
so
refusing
high.
because we liked to come
I was
in.
running the heat. It was 400 or 500 euros.
That was crazy.
We just didn't know what we were doing, obviously. But
well, that house had no insulation.
Yeah, nothing. That was an H. That's what that was. I mean, honestly.
Well, you know, that's something important to say. You know, we acquired quite a bit of experience. So if you're thinking of moving and renting, there is a lot of information we can provide. You know, we offer those consultations because we learned a lot.
Yeah. So since you mentioned it, if you're interested in talking to us about the foundational emotional mindset stuff that we really like to focus on in order to know why you're moving and to stay on course, drop us a line. I'll put that in the description below, movingabroadjc@gmail.com, and we'll set something up.
But also things to think about, you know, all the things, you know, keep in mind this, keep in mind that. Anyway, important information.
I'll do one. Keep in mind getting an inspector or 2 or 3. In France, no inspector,
they don't do
all
that.
Comprehensive inspector like they do in the US,
right?
That's required by the bank, et cetera, is going to come to your home. And I really wish, in retrospect, I had someone get up on the roof, check the plumbing, check the electrical. You literally have to find those people. That is not part of the plan here in France. When you're buying a home, they're not going to do that for you. They're going to be thorough in terms of diagnostics of different kinds, the land, the energy rating, you know, certain agriculture around you, the land, any kind of dangers, noise.
Well,
but they're not going to do the inspection stuff.
Yeah.
That's on you.
Yeah. We were concerned about certain things that it is part of the document when you buy a house, which was there was no lead or asbestos in this house. I don't remember which other big structural important things.
Yeah.
That is, you know, definitely in the report.
And they show you in the report all the different checks that they've done to the septic system. That's, by the way, well, we'll talk about that. It's a few feet away from us.
Yes, that's another thing that is different.
It's an old home.
Yeah.
But they give you all the kind of reports of things being in order. At the time, you know, you go through a notary process here. And in the U.S., you're used to the what do you call it? The people that escrow, right? Officers that take you through the final leg. Here, the notary, the notaire, acts sort of as a counterpart to your agent. And they're there to kind of protect you from certain things you should know, so you could stay informed. So you get all the paperwork, the typical paperwork that you do in the U.S. in its French format with the things they cover. And so back in the day, 2 years ago, it was early days of ChatGPT. We already had been gotten a subscription because I was using ChatGPT a lot for French. And in this case, I would take paragraphs straight out of the document and translate them. So we could pinpoint any possible thing that we needed to know. And so that was our practice. If you don't have the language, and it is tricky language when it comes to documents, this is the way to do it and to stay informed.
Well, out of that, one thing that shocked me is that you can do anything you want inside the house.
That's right.
And you are not required to have any inspection. You can do literally anything.
Yeah. Except right, the Velux, the skylights.
But it has nothing to do with structure.
No, because they'll let you cut it up anywhere. They don't care how you do it. Who does it? It's that you have to tell them where they are placed so that the mayor's office can approve through the local county or however they do it. So that you don't. Yeah, go ahead.
Because they don't want you to be looking into any neighbors. They protect privacy.
Privacy is key.
So much. We did a main bedroom with a main bathroom There was no main bathroom upstairs.
Yes.
So that's actually coming up in
On your
my
channel?
channel.
Yeah.
So if you want to see that.
Zero permits.
Yeah.
Zero inspections of any kind. You get together with your plumber, your electrician, your key people.
Makes you realize it's very important that you hire
Quality
professionals.
people who are
And we did,
licensed.
who are licensed professionals.
yes.
Because here in France, they are a little bit more strict with the rules. In fact, there were certain things I wanted to install in the bathroom and my electrician didn't let me. He's like, no, I'm not installing
So
that.
their rule, it's almost like they're liable. They're supposed to be the ones upholding code.
Yeah, because
right?
because I guess
it could
the
come
law
back to them.
right.
But you don't have to worry about calling the city, getting checks, things
Yeah.
being delayed potentially, having to pay for permits.
That doesn't
So
exist.
pros and cons, because I think in the U.S.
It was
they're
a
very
little
thorough.
scary.
Yeah.
It made me realize, like, oh, they could be hidden secrets. And we did find hidden secrets when we were installing the skylights in the hallway by the stairs. We almost had the contractor cut into an electrical cable that was unprotected.
Just like cabling running through the framing.
Without any
And
protection.
you have
so,
no idea. So
yeah.
anyway, so that's unique.
So
about
that
France.
was a little bit of a shocker.
Yeah. At the same time, very freeing. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah, but
Pros
then,
and cons, right? Pros and cons.
Yeah, pros
Like
and
everything.
cons. But then when you buy a house, like, buyer beware, right? Big time. Big time.
Again, in retrospect, you have 20/20 vision. I mean, if we could have done it again, you get qualified people to look
But the
and
problem is,
find out if there's anything.
We had no contacts. I mean, we were like,
Yes. Yeah.
that. This was crazy.
So you do the best you can. It's still a great
got
home.
lucky.
We got lucky. It's a lovely home. We've enjoyed it a lot. Very more modern than typical homes here in the countryside. Very much ready to go. But we came in with a wish list, and so
Yeah.
there are things we want to do to just this room alone, right? Painting it, and Cecilia wants to do, of course, a special treatment to the walls, adding beams,
Yeah.
to add kind of almost restore that sort
Yeah.
of old look, because we want it as French as possible.
Yes.
It's a lot. You can add a lot to your plate very quickly.
Yeah.
Especially someone like you, who is a bona fide artiste. The stuff has to get done way more than my own personal wishes. I mean, I love the end results. I'll always say that. I love what you do. I love living in it.
But
It's the doing.
we're questioning now,
The
like,
doing.
are we insane?
Yeah.
Another big difference is obviously the roof system here.
Big, endless roofs.
Yeah, and
this is
expensive.
a longère. It's a long property. It's
Very expensive. So if you don't check your roof and they have problems, it's going to be
And
a
even
big cost.
us, we were told the roof was fine. We discovered in the
trusted
skylight
too much.
process that there were problems. We delayed about a year and then had people come, and it was expensive just to do sections, right?
Yeah.
To protect the house. So you kind of have to know when you get into an old home what you can expect, even if you're not like us or like Cecilia, where you want to do a lot of makeover stuff and updating. Just what are the basics? What additional money might I have to put into it to get it to be functional and safe and all that? So
Yeah, in United States, the construction, it's a little bit cheaper, faster. The roofs are made out of asphalt. Rarely they're made out of baked tiles like here.
So talk about new homes here. What you did some
I don't know
research.
much about new homes because we didn't even look at them.
I don't like the look of them in villages. They really stand out.
They're a little too plain Jane.
They're not blended in. I like it when neighborhoods try to blend new homes into the existing style. So you were saying that new homes here don't have all the amenities as they do in the U.S. They're done to code. They're modernized.
They're more Americanized, where they have sometimes more of an open space. So they're more Americanized style, I would say.
Energy efficient windows.
Yes,
things
they're
like
very
that.
energy efficient. They're not big. They don't make them big. That's nice. They're a little. Another important one that I definitely want to mention is kitchens are not as large as the kitchens in United States, and they don't have that much storage. In fact, there is no storage especially in older houses.
Modern kitchens in the U.S.
Are ridiculous.
are gigantic.
They're ridiculous.
And I realize you spend a lot of time in the kitchen.
No, but it's
But
ridiculous.
it's gone over the top.
Yeah.
So it's like, so of course it's going to be tiny because in
Yeah.
comparison, you're like,
Well, our kitchen from our farmhouse was small as well. It's
in the US.
super
Well,
efficient.
It was an old home.
Yeah, but right. See, I'm
All the
always
time.
attracted to old homes. I like quaint. This house, to me, it's a little too big. I prefer quaint and small, but it was the only house the two of us felt, okay, I could do this.
Yeah.
The bedrooms don't have closets. There is no storage because I think back in the day was all you brought a piece of furniture and you had very minimal things. You didn't have that many things.
Right.
So
Funny because in the U.S. we didn't have closets either.
no,
It
because
was all just old school.
yeah,
So in a way, what you did to that house, you
trained
had
us for this.
you had a French mindset from
Yeah.
the beginning, which is really interesting.
Yeah. So the kitchen here was modernized. The furniture that they gave us, it's wonderful. But in comparison to United States, yeah, it's not as much storage.
And you were saying earlier, it's not about good or bad or who's better
Yeah.
or not. It's just that you come into a setting, you adapt as much as possible, which you should, and we are. And at the same time, you come in with wishes, right? You go, well, I wish I had more light in the upstairs. So we
Yeah.
added that.
Yeah.
There's certain wishes you have and you sort of accommodate to your needs, not because you're necessarily putting down the system or wanting to change who they are. It's just personal preference within adapting to a new setting.
It's funny because this is something we converse with our sons. The quality of life, or what the French value as quality of life, is different than American quality of life. It's trade-offs. We're learning. We're picking what we like from here and what we like from there
Yeah.
and making it our own. And that's all it matters.
Yeah.
And obviously being respectful and no saying this one is better than the other, but what we prefer.
Right.
That's it.
Right. Yeah. Anyway, buying a house, if you're going to in France, it's a big deal. You don't have a centralized RMLS system, so you have to hunt different sources, right? You have to know where to look. This house, for example, was represented by 3 agencies, so Cecilia had to choose, intuitively, actually, which one was going to be a good fit. So check out that video, because I tell that story. It's very interesting. It's such a big part if you're thinking of moving abroad. Buying a home or finding where to live and then renting in that place is a big deal. I see it as 3 parts. Leaving where you are is tough enough and complex enough. Deciding where you're going to end up is the next phase. And then settling is a whole other chapter, multi-year. So
getting support is important.
absolutely. We've been talking to people the last few months, have really enjoyed helping people along.
And they have come back. We had
Several
multiple
have come back.
conversations. Yeah.
Because I think what's unique about us is we tackle things from an emotional, foundational, and mindset perspective. Like you always say, you got to know your why before you do anything and make sure that you're well-directed and
that is the right thing for you.
Yeah, so
because,
you can focus on that path and stay
Yeah.
on it, right?
so you don't do things just because everybody else is doing it, but you're doing it for your desires, your own growth.
Best interest, right? Otherwise, you find yourself coming back home.
Yeah.
So if you're interested in something like that, drop us a line. I'll leave the email below as well. movingabroadjc@gmail.com, and we'll set up a time.
I want to add one more thing
One
we
more,
haven't
please.
discussed. One big shocker was how many DIY stores
There's
are.
a lot in France.
We were so surprised.
Yeah.
And some of them, multiple large ones. I could mention them really quick. Leroy Merlin, Castorama, Bricomarché, Mr. Bricolage, and I'm sure there's a whole
a lot
bunch
of
that I
chains,
haven't.
and they range from the very large ones, like the Home Depots, to the more medium-sized, to the small. So you're navigating. Do you go local for a couple things? Do you go to the nearby city or town for the larger selection?
Yeah.
Or do you drive 50 minutes like we have to go to Castorama or Leroy Merlin
Those are my 2 favorites.
to go crazy on paint and wood, and which she loves to do.
Yes.
And I never will. So
Anyway, just a fun tip about that. That was surprising.
Yeah.
Anyway, hopefully you found this useful, and I'm sure we forgot a million things to say, which we can come back for more videos. Do comment if you have any questions related to this. And I guess we'll see you next time.
Yeah, take care.